Go. Oopsies. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Paperback Podcast, episode 2. Whoop, whoop. I hope everyone's doing well, because I know for one thing, I'm doing wonderfully. I'm doing amazing, exuberant, astonishing, English, astonishingly well. And yeah, finals are done, grades are good, everything is just right in the world. And that's good. So I hope everything's right in the world for you too. Let's just get into what we're going to talk about today. I have my trusty dusty old brown bag with us today. Yes, I have a paper bag, so give it up for the paper bag. Come on now. Give it some claps, give it some claps, yes. Um and today we're just gonna dig right in. Just see what's in here. Oh yeah, okay. We're gonna talk about relationships. Mwah. Anyway, I love relationships. I love it. Like, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. But I love them so much. Even though they're just so complex, they're just soothe my soul. Like, live, laugh, love for them and everything that comes with it. Whether it's 2 people or 3 people, whatever you're into, whatever your cup of tea is. Anyway, let's just dive right into it, shall we? Just about everyone knows that there's so many varying opinions on what a relationship is, on how they're conducted, on how they are. And I feel like that just stems from, different backgrounds, different family values, different, ¿cómo se dice? Different ideologies, just everything under the sun and the moon that you could think of that people can differ on is probably a reason why people differ on relationships and love, obviously. But I feel like specifically in Gen Z, like my generation, we put this emphasis on friendships. If anything, that I've just noticed, and I feel like I've noticed that being on social media a lot when it comes to TikTok, especially, it's like Friendsgivings or friend bucket list or things to do with friends on the weekend or just going around with friends or like day in the life with my friends or, friend starting podcasts or just the things with the slides where people would do like a friend slideshow recap thing. Yeah, I feel like that is just so freaking cool and I want to do one, obviously. But for the people who don't have friends, obviously it makes you want to have friends. Like, I would want to have friends to do that with, right? And obviously rightfully so. I feel like also the emotional bond between you and a friend is something that can be unmatched, that sometimes a relationship can't even touch. Like, it just can't. And I feel like that is another reason why we just put so much value on these friendships. According to an article titled Gen Z Relationships, New Trends in Love and Intimacy by Kate Burrows, Burrows states, and yes, I actually found evidence, to back up my claims because that's a no-no in writing, obviously. She states Gen Z and older generations see love and intimacy differently. Past generations valued romance, but today's youth have broader views on love and connection. For many young people, friendships now take center stage over romantic relationships. Pop culture has picked up on the shift with more focus on platonic bonds and self-love. And rightfully so. I mean, people depending on who you are, people have experienced trauma, just bad stuff in relationships and just romantic partners in general. So what do we hear all the time? Self-love, self-love, self-care, self-love. And obviously they're doing that and they're putting themselves first and they're getting friends and having friends and enjoying life without having a relationship, which I mean, I applaud people for that. Applaud them for that. Amen. Obviously, seeing this emphasis on friendships, but I think that like seeing this for the people who obviously don't have friends like that, or that you scroll on social media like TikTok or Instagram and you see all this stuff all the time, it's like it can make you really, really lonely. A lot of people nowadays, especially now, like people can't make friends. They can't go out in the world and they just don't know how to talk to people because they're always on their phone all the time. And I feel that that is like a big hindrance as to why so many people feel so lonely because you can't talk to people in the world because you get scared or you're always on that damn phone. The reason why you died from the bubonic plague is because of that phone. It's because of the phone. Research suggests Gen Z's relationship shifts are partially a result of social disconnection, not just bold boundary pushing. Psychologist Jean, sorry if I butcher this, Twenge correlates Gen Z's historically low rates of sexual activity with parallel surges in depression and technology overuse. Thus, furthering my point that this loneliness, obviously, that people face can lead to honestly social awkwardness and just not being able to connect with others. And that leads to a lack of relationship, sexual activity, within the kids, within the children, which is, I personally, for me, that's good. I don't think you got no business doing that mess anyway. That's just my 2 cents about that. Obviously, some people, well, a lot of people actually, when they have a really good friendship, obviously, it goes really well for them. And sometimes you can develop feelings, right? And with those feelings, something starts brewing up. And this is what I like to call friends with benefits. Now, one thing about me, I would never partake in such activity like that. Hopefully, I don't, because if I'm saying this now and I do, well, you can burn me at the stake. Basically, if you don't know what it is, it's just you being friends with someone, really close friends, and you basically doing sexual things with them. It's like you being kind of low key in a relationship, just without the label and a lot more sex. I mean, if I'm being quite honest with you, it's just that's kind of what it is. I wanted to give some background about what Friends with Benefits, where it came from, where it originated from. According to, you guys are gonna hate me for this one, slang.com, I think it is. Okay, so actually, as I was going back and editing that whole thing, I soon quickly realized it actually was dictionary.com, and I was on the slang dictionary in dictionary.com. So yeah, there's that. So cleared up the confusion there. The term friends with benefits originated from the Canadian American singer Alanis Morissette from her award winning 1995 Jagged Little Pill track, Head Over Feet. The lyrics read, "Because I can't sing, and I'm not going to try to sing, so I won't do it. You're my best friend, slash, best friend with benefits." Ooh, that one was real. That one was so real. She ate that up. Goodness, man, I feel like a woman. Let's go, girls. Just kidding. That's the wrong singer. That's not even the right person. That's Shania Twain, guys. Be so for real. But anyway, flash forward to where we are now. And the term friends with benefits is a household staple. Like, if you don't know what that is, then you're a clown. Like, come on now. You can do it without a lot of repercussions, obviously, because it's a mutual agreement between two people, obviously, and they know what they want. Apparently, maybe. Like, these things begin to teeter on the line of friendship and relationship, but really more friendship with a relationship attached to the side of it. With that, also, it can kind of start blurring between the lines of like friends with benefits and situationships, because I mean, situationships are more so you don't have to be friends with the person. That's kind of where it differs, is like you're not really friends with the person. You might not even know them, in fact, for that long to have a situationship. It's more like the same thing with friends with benefits, just without you really knowing them for that long or even knowing them at all. And you have an attraction to them, obviously, so you keep coming back for more. It's just a lot. It's just a lot on both ends. And it's like, for one, I don't know why I'm talking about this, because it just really does something to me, obviously, and it's just very interesting. And I don't know why people do it so much. I think people like living life on the edge. They live for the thrill. But now that we're on the topic of situationship, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Situationships are basically relationships without labeling as such. I mean, come on, we knew that. We knew that. And there's no mutual exclusivity. So it's basically kind of like an open relationship in a sense. Kind of ish. A lot of these relationship things kind of blur into each other. It's like a swamp building up, murky water. The water is just not clean, so we don't drink it. Some people love to drink from this water. They will eat it up alive, put it in every meal that they can. From the article again. These casual relationships are defined by their emotional ambiguity. They are increasing among Gen Z, coming partially out of fear of commitment. Situationships allow physical and emotional intimacy without labels or expectations. However, these arrangements' vagueness often leads to anxiety in formal comparison to traditional relationships. Seeking intimacy while advocating vulnerability reflects Gen Z's broader yearning for connection alongside wariness around traditional relationships. People want relationships, they yearn for connection, they want it. And obviously, after reading that, like, it really just occurred to me that so many people they have or are in situationships because it's like the feeling of being in a relationship without putting the label on it. And I think so many people find that just absolutely amazing for them, because it's like you can do all this stuff, you can have all the things without actually having to put a label on it. And I don't think everything needs to have a label, but that's just me personally. But like, just to clearly state your intentions, I feel like is a better thing to do with the person. Like you don't have to tell the whole world that we're dating, but like just to clearly state your intentions with that person. I feel like personally, but that's just that. But we'll get into how I feel in a minute, in just a little moment. Also, the rise in situationships also stems from TikTok, which a lot of things do. So what did I do? I couldn't help myself, so I decided to go on TikTok, and I just decided to look up situationships, and I just broadly did it. And some of the things that came up were absolutely outlandish. Like, absolutely outlandish. Who the heck is doing situationship Christmas presents? Like, what? Oh my, y'all are really in heat, y'all. Y'all need to get some help. But just things like that are absolutely crazy to me that people will literally sit on TikTok and talk about this. But one thing about me is I love a good story time. I love a good situationship story time, especially because they're so interesting. And I feel like also it helps me because it's like, I would never want that. But it's so interesting that you went through that. Whose fault's that? Yours. But it's just interesting that you would talk about it. And I'm here to listen. I'm here to listen. No, I don't do it all the time. But for the most part, I love a good listen, love a good listen. Now here's a section of the show where I give my 2 cents. So this is Ruben's 2 cents on the Paperback Podcast. There's just so much to talk about. There's just so much. What I noticed is that obviously, no matter what generation it is, like especially right now, we crave love. We want love in whatever form we can get it, whether it's a real relationship, situationship, friends with benefits, friendship, or just even love with ourselves. Like people crave that and people want love. We're human at the end of the day. That's all we want is to be loved and to love someone else. Like that is what we crave. I feel like people are still a little bit too scared to just admit it sometimes that that's what they want. And so I feel like that's why it's a lot of miscommunication in the departments of like situationships and friends with benefits and all that. Because it's like people want love, obviously, but they're too scared or too prideful to even say that they want it. Rightfully so, I guess. Like you do your big one, but and I mean, I can't knock them because personally, like my old self, I would have been like that. But now, looking like now, I would obviously like to say that, you know, I'm one of those people. I'm a hopeless romantic sometimes. I really am. And I will fall for rocks out of the sky. Together, collectively, as a generation, we have some growing to do. Like we're still in our growing pains era. We're still in our teenage era, like figuring out what it is that we want, figuring out how to navigate the world of relationships and love, and just figuring out what we want as people. And I feel like that's okay. Like, no one said you had to know right away. I mean, come on now, that's silly. Because it's freaking old people who don't even know what they want still. And they're about to croak. And they still haven't figured out how to vocalize how they feel and what they want. In the other sense of that, the people who vocalize it just a little bit too much and they rush things and they just, because you can do everything in moderation. Everything can be done in moderation. But sometimes when people just do too much about it and they rush everything, like it's not going to work out the way you want it to. And I've personally experienced that in my life with just things that just don't work out because sometimes they just don't. And like I really am starting to really believe in the if it's meant for you, it's going to come regardless. But you just have to be patient and wait. Like you really do. And I feel like there's no need to rush anything. Like focus on you for that time being. Focus on whatever it is you want to focus on and do that. Like that's fine. Cause like y'all be so weak in the knees for what? Like stand up. Stand up. In that, you know, not being too pushy, but also understanding that there's moderation to things. We also just have to learn to just make connections. Get off that phone, girl. Get off social media. Just go and make connections. Go out in the world. Go talk to someone. Kind of get out your comfort zone. You have to, especially now. Like me, experience like growing up, and I'm about to literally fly away to college. Like I'm like Nelly Furtado right now. Like I'm like a bird. I want to fly away. I think that like taking risks sometimes, and just getting out of your comfort zone a little bit. You don't have to do too much. Like I'm not telling you to go freaking rob a bank, but just getting out and just talking to people, experiencing life, because you're gonna miss all the opportunities that you want, and you're gonna be so stagnant in just anything, whether it's relationships or whatever, regardless. And you're just gonna be like, dang, I should have did that. You're gonna live in that regret. You're gonna live in that regret. You're gonna want to have done that, but you didn't. Overall, as a generation, we have some understanding of like what we want. We understand that love is scary. We know that love is scary. And I think it's good that we ever acknowledge that, obviously. And it's also scary to admit how we feel sometimes. And it really is. And it's scary and it's hard sometimes. And I know a lot of people sometimes get offended by, other people telling them how they feel, but sometimes it's good. It's sometimes healthy to tell people how you feel and to just get it out there and how you feel about them, because sometimes it's well deserved, because sometimes people be too high on the ego pedestal and they need to come down. They're at like level 20 and they need to be at like level 10. We just have to be smart about what we're, saying in our decisions that we make when it comes to love, relationships, life in general. Like, we just have to be smart about it. I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you guys for tuning in. And next week I have like a actually like kind of a fun episode, I think. Maybe so. So yeah, just stay tuned for that. But yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next week. So bye everyone. Um I get so weak.